Every morning, before the world gets a hold of your mind, someone already has the microphone in your head. That someone is you. Your thoughts shape your destiny. What you repeat to yourself becomes who you are. This isn't just an inspiring phrase, it's the most fundamental law of the mind. Everything you think, consciously or unconsciously, begins to form patterns. Patterns that become beliefs, habits, decisions, and ultimately the shape of your life. Every word you whisper internally is a command to your subconscious. If you tell yourself "I'm not good enough," your mind starts to find reasons to prove that belief right. If you say, "I can figure this out," your brain begins searching for paths, strategies, and clues. That's how powerful self-talk is. It's not just a tool for confidence, it's the silent engine driving your behavior, your choices, your energy, and your future. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror every morning. That reflection is not just your appearance, it's the echo of your inner dialogue. The way you see yourself, the way you treat yourself, and the way you expect life to respond to you. All of that is being constructed from the sentences you silently repeat. You don't wake up confident. You become confident by planting thoughts of self-worth every day like seeds. And the more you repeat them, the deeper they root. What you repeat becomes familiar. What becomes familiar feels true. And what feels true, you begin to live out. The most successful people in the world are not always the smartest or most talented. They are the most disciplined in their thinking. They understand this truth: your outer world will never exceed your inner dialogue. You can't build a powerful life while tearing yourself down internally. You can't live like a leader if your inner voice is full of doubt, fear, and self-sabotage. Thoughts are instructions. Repetition is reinforcement. And identity is built through consistency. This is why you must choose your thoughts as carefully as you choose your friends. You wouldn't allow someone to speak to your loved ones with constant criticism, so why allow it inside your own mind? Every day, remind yourself, "I am enough, I am capable, I am improving." These aren't lies, they are choices. You choose to tell your mind what direction to go. You choose whether you speak life into your goals or feed fear into your heart. And those choices add up, day by day, into momentum or misery. Even in moments of failure, your thoughts decide whether it's the end or a lesson. Even in pain, your inner words determine whether you grow stronger or give up. If you're constantly saying, "I'm too late," you won't even notice the doors still open for you. But if you keep repeating, "I'm right on time," your mind stays alert for opportunity. What you focus on expands. What you affirm gets amplified. And what you repeat becomes real. So stop waiting for confidence to arrive. Speak it into being. Stop hoping for success to come find you. Think like the version of you who already owns it. That version already lives inside you. You just have to talk to it. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions create energy. Energy creates movement. And that movement, done daily, creates the life you desire. Your destiny is not hidden in luck, background, or even your talents. It's hidden in your daily thoughts. Change your thinking, and you'll change your identity. Change your identity, and you'll change your life. Self-talk is not just motivation, it's programming, and you're the programmer. Every thought you repeat, every sentence you speak to yourself internally, is a line of code you're installing into your mind. Most people don't even realize it, but they are walking around with outdated, negative, or destructive programming simply because they never took control of their inner dialogue. They let other people's opinions, childhood experiences, failures, and fears dictate the narrative that runs on a loop inside their brain. But here's the truth: you are the only one who can rewrite that code. And you must, because until you do, your life will always reflect the story your mind is stuck in. Think about this: a computer only runs the software that's been installed. If it's filled with bugs, it crashes. If it's loaded with the wrong instructions, it produces the wrong results. The same goes for your mind. If you constantly tell yourself, "I can't do this, I always mess up," or "nothing ever works out for me," then your brain begins to organize your focus, energy, and perception around proving those statements right. Why? Because the subconscious mind doesn't judge, it follows. Whatever you feed it, it obeys. It doesn't ask whether the input is empowering or limiting. It just accepts repetition as truth. That's why even lies, when told often enough to yourself, start to feel like facts. But the most powerful shift happens the day you realize, You can change the script. You can rewrite the program. You can feed your mind new instructions deliberately, repeatedly, with conviction. And when you do, your behaviors begin to align with the new programming. Your body, your choices, your mood, even your results begin to shift. This isn't just positive thinking, it's recoding your internal system to align with who you want to become. Let's say you start each morning telling yourself, "I'm becoming more focused and disciplined every day." At first, it might feel awkward or even untrue, but if you keep feeding that line of code into your system, something powerful starts to happen. Your brain begins to look for proof. It starts noticing moments where you chose focus. It starts rewarding the times you acted with discipline. Over time, it constructs a new identity around that phrase because repetition creates belief, and belief controls behavior. Before long, it's not just something you said, it's who you are. Most people never break free from their limiting patterns because they keep recycling the same programming without even realizing it. They let their thoughts run on autopilot, not understanding that every autopilot program was once installed by someone, somewhere. But what if you could take the controls back? What if you could uninstall the doubt, the fear, the excuses, and upload courage, clarity, and belief? You can, you must, because your life is responding to the code you're running. And here's the secret most people miss. Self-talk isn't just about making you feel good. It's about building the mental infrastructure for consistent, unstoppable action. It's about preparing your mind for the battles you will face, internal and external. When you tell yourself daily, "I am resilient, I adapt, I overcome," you're not just being optimistic. You're training your mind to rise when life tries to pull you down. You're hardwiring your system for perseverance. You're creating the emotional armor that protects you in chaos and keeps you sharp in opportunity. Words matter. Inner dialogue matters. Because when no one else is watching, when the pressure is high and the lights are off, the voice you hear the most, your own, will either lift you or limit you. So speak wisely. Program intentionally, because your future isn't decided by chance, it's created by design, and you are the one writing the code. Every thought is a tool, every word is a weapon, every phrase is power if you choose it to be. Daily affirmations act as emotional armor against fear, failure, and negativity. In a world that constantly pulls your attention toward fear-based headlines, criticism from others, and your own self-doubt, affirmations are not just feel-good statements, they are shields. They guard your mind from sinking into helplessness. They protect your energy when the weight of life feels heavy. They give you a voice of strength when the voice of fear tries to scream louder. You don't need affirmations because you're weak. You need them because the world is constantly trying to convince you that you are. Every day you wake up, your brain enters a vulnerable state. The thoughts you feed it early in the day set the emotional tone for how you respond to pressure, people, and problems. If the first thoughts you absorb are filled with worry or regret, your whole day can feel like you are dragging emotional baggage. But when you start your morning feeding your spirit with thoughts like "I am in control of my emotions," "I am moving forward with purpose," or "I am worthy of success," you give your mind direction. You set the frequency. You choose the channel your emotions are tuned to. That is the power of affirmation. They're not magic, but they are muscle. They strengthen your mental core. Think about the challenges you face: a failed plan, a rejection, a mistake, a harsh comment, a setback. Each of those moments has the power to bend your mindset if you are not prepared. But affirmations, when spoken daily, create a mental defense system. They don't stop life from happening, but they stop life from breaking you. They create inner resistance. They remind you of your worth when the world tries to make you feel worthless. They remind you of your strength when your fears try to convince you to quit. They remind you of your vision when distractions try to pull you off course. Most people don't understand this. Fear is not just an emotion, it's a strategy. It's your mind's way of trying to protect you from pain. But left unchecked, fear becomes your boss. It decides what you do, what you avoid, and who you become. Affirmations disrupt that strategy. They talk back to fear. When fear says, "What if you fail?" you respond with, "I grow through every challenge." When fear says you're not ready, you reply with, "I've prepared for this moment." This is not fake confidence, this is trained mental discipline. Failure, too, needs a counter-narrative. Without affirmations, failure can feel like finality. But when you've armed yourself with daily words like "I learn from everything," or "every setback prepares me for a comeback," you begin to absorb failure differently. You feel the sting, yes, but you rise faster. You don't let it define you, because you've already trained your mind to look at failure as fuel, not a finish line. And then there's negativity from others, from within, from the past. It creeps in silently, a sarcastic remark, an old memory, a doubtful glance. Without preparation, those moments plant seeds of hesitation, insecurity, or shame. But affirmations are how you stay rooted in your truth. They're how you stop giving free rent to the opinions of people who don't know your story. They're how you stop reliving a past you've already outgrown. With enough repetition, your affirmations start speaking louder than your critics, louder than your fears, louder than your past. You don't need hundreds of affirmations. You just need a few spoken consistently and with feeling. They must be clear, present tense, and personal. I am focused. I am valuable. I create my own future. You say them not because they're instantly true, but because you are in the process of making them true. And the more you say them, the more your mind looks for evidence to support them. That's how belief is built. Not in one moment, but through a ritual repeated day after day, until your internal voice becomes your greatest ally. Daily affirmations are not for the weak. They are for the warriors, for the ones who know life will test them, but who refuse to let it defeat them. When the world gets loud with noise, negativity, and nonsense, affirmations bring you back to your power. They remind you who you are, and more importantly, they remind you of who you're becoming. Each phrase you repeat can either uplift you or trap you. Choose your words wisely. Words are not just sounds, they are signals to the subconscious mind. They carry vibration, energy, and a meaning that sink deeper than we realize. When you constantly repeat a phrase to yourself, you are reinforcing a belief system, and that belief system shapes your identity, actions, and results. Most people underestimate this power. They speak casually, carelessly, and unconsciously, not knowing that every phrase they say to themselves becomes a brick in the foundation of their future. Take a simple phrase like "I always mess things up." You might say it in frustration, without much thought, but your subconscious doesn't see it as a joke. It hears it and stores it. If you repeat it enough, it turns into an internal rule, something your brain begins to treat as a fact. And once something becomes a belief, your actions begin to align with it. You start to hesitate more. You second-guess your decisions. You fear responsibility, because deep down, you've told yourself you'll mess it up anyway. That's how one small phrase becomes a mental prison. On the other hand, imagine replacing that phrase with "I am learning and growing every day." At first, your brain may resist it because it's not used to hearing something that empowering, but say it enough, and something changes. You begin to see your mistakes not as shameful, but as part of the process. You take more initiative. You forgive yourself faster. You stop seeking perfection and start seeking progress. This is the transformative power of self-talk. It doesn't just describe your life, it designs it. The words you use when you talk to yourself are either your wings or your chains. Some people live in quiet misery because their daily phrases are quietly destructive. They say things like "I'm so unlucky," "nothing ever works out for me," or "people like me never make it." And the sad truth is, not because those things are facts, but because they've been repeated so many times, the person started believing them. They shaped their self-image around those phrases. And once you accept a phrase as part of your identity, you stop challenging it. You live in agreement with it. That's why choosing your words wisely is not optional, it's essential. Your words are the blueprint. Every time you speak with intention, you lay down a new path. Every phrase you use becomes a suggestion to your subconscious, and your subconscious, loyal and uncritical, goes to work building whatever you've suggested. If you say "I'm not good at speaking," your mind will filter out opportunities to improve. But if you say "I'm becoming a more confident speaker," your mind begins to scan for growth, courage, and feedback. This is not delusion, this is direction. You're not pretending, you're programming. Now, think of the people who inspire you, leaders, creatives, visionaries. They didn't become who they are by accident. They crafted a language of power, progress, and clarity. They learned to monitor and upgrade the phrases they repeated to themselves. They chose words that elevated their thinking, That's available to you too. You don't need a perfect past or ideal conditions to begin. You just need to choose better words, and do it consistently. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or deny struggle. It means you take control of your interpretation. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," say, "This is helping me grow." Instead of saying, "I'll never get there," say, "Every step is taking me closer." Those shifts may seem small, but repeated daily, they rewire how you think, feel, and act. They free you from mental traps and open new doors. Because empowered language leads to empowered action. So monitor your inner dialogue like your life depends on it. Because it does. Write down the phrases you say often. Ask yourself, is this lifting me or limiting me? If it's draining your belief, change it, replace it, repeat something better. You can't rise with words that pull you down, and you can't soar with language built for survival. Speak words that match your future, not your fear, because in the end, it's not what others call you, it's what you call yourself every day that shapes the story of your life. You don't become great by accident, and you rise by intention, discipline, and repetition. Greatness isn't something that randomly shows up at your door one day because you got lucky. It's not something reserved for a chosen few born with extraordinary talent or given some secret advantage. Greatness is built like a house, brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought. The people who rise above the noise, who break through barriers and turn their potential into results, all have one thing in common: they live with deliberate intention, they practice consistent discipline, and they commit to repeating the right actions over and over, even when no one is watching. Intention is the starting point. You can't hit a target you don't aim at. Most people drift through life hoping things will get better, waiting for the right moment, depending on external motivation to push them forward. But the ones who rise know that hope is not a strategy. They set clear intentions for their life, intentions for who they want to become, how they want to live, and what they are willing to do to get there. They don't leave their future up to chance. They define it, then align every thought, habit, and action with that vision. They wake up with purpose, not confusion. They ask themselves, what must I do today to move closer to the person I'm meant to be? And then they do it, and no matter how they feel. But intention alone is not enough. Discipline is what transforms vision into victory. It's easy to set goals, but hard to stick with them when it's inconvenient, painful, or slow. That's where discipline comes in. It's the inner fire that says, I will do it anyway. Discipline is showing up on the days you don't feel inspired. It's working when no one claps for you. It's staying focused when distractions try to pull you off course. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It follows through on your commitments. The greatest achievements you'll ever experience won't be built during moments of motivation. They'll be built in the trenches of consistency, when no spotlight is on you, and yet you still choose to rise. Then comes repetition, the secret ingredient of mastery. Repetition is what makes greatness sustainable. One act of brilliance won't change your life, but thousands of small, focused, repeated actions will. Repetition is how you turn skills into second nature. It's how you build confidence that's unshakable. It's how you reinforce belief when doubt tries to creep in. Think of an athlete who trains every day, even when the game is months away, or a speaker who rehearses the same lines 100 times before stepping on stage, or a writer who shows up at the desk daily, even when the words don't flow. They're not just practicing their craft, they're building their future, one repetition at a time. Most people quit because they expect results too soon. They don't understand that greatness takes time. It's forged in repetition. It's sharpened through discipline. It's aligned through intention. Every repetition you complete sends a message to your brain. This matters. This is who I am becoming. Over time, that message becomes your identity. And once your identity shifts, your actions follow with more power and ease. That's why repeating the right habits, thoughts, and words is so crucial. Because your life will always reflect what you've rehearsed the most. You rise by being intentional about your focus, not wasting your energy on things that don't matter. You rise by being disciplined with your time, using it wisely instead of carelessly. And you rise by repeating the right actions, even when they feel boring or thankless. That's how champions are made. That's how dreamers become doers. That's how ordinary people do extraordinary things. There's no shortcut, no overnight miracle, just a commitment to show up every day with clarity, with grit, and with relentless repetition. That's the path to greatness, and it's available to anyone willing to walk it. You said, telling yourself the right things daily creates clarity, confidence, and unstoppable drive. Every day, your mind wakes up like a blank slate, ready to receive instructions. If you don't guide it, the world will. If you don't give your thoughts a direction, distractions, doubts, and negativity will take over. That's why it's essential to speak the right words to yourself, not once in a while, but every single day. The right self-talk doesn't just make you feel better, it gives you focus, power, and energy to move forward with purpose. It creates clarity about who you are, where you're going, and why you refuse to stop. Clarity is the foundation of any meaningful progress. When you start your day with intentional, empowering language, you eliminate mental fog. You remind yourself of your goals, your standards, and your values. You tell yourself, this is what I want, this is why it matters, this is who I am becoming. That kind of clarity is rare in a world full of noise and distraction. Most people are lost not because they're incapable, but because they don't talk to themselves enough about what truly matters. They wake up and react to everything, messages, opinions, fears, instead of starting their day with clear self-direction. The right words cut through the chaos. They make your priorities shine while everything else fades into the background. When you repeat the right thoughts every day, you also start building confidence, not the fake kind that comes from temporary success, but the real kind that grows from within. Confidence doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. It comes from knowing, deep down, that your words, your beliefs, and your actions are moving in the same direction. Every time you tell yourself, I've got this, and then take one step forward, your mind begins to trust you. Every time you say, I'm capable, and then prove it through effort, you build an identity rooted in truth. That's how real self-esteem is formed, not from compliments or trophies, but from a private, powerful agreement with yourself. I say what I mean, and I live what I believe. But the real magic is in what happens next. The drive. When your mind is clear and your confidence is growing, you start to feel momentum. You stop hesitating. You stop second-guessing. You stop needing permission. You move. You execute. You push forward even when it's hard, because your self-talk reminds you that the pain has purpose, that the process is part of the reward, and that the future is yours to build. This kind of drive isn't forced, it's generated. It comes from your internal environment, from the energy you've been feeding yourself every morning. It comes from hearing your own voice say, let's go, even when no one else believes in you. And this drive becomes unstoppable when it's reinforced daily, not once, not occasionally, but consistently. Because the truth is, life will test you. You'll face days when doubt screams louder than belief. You'll feel tired, misunderstood, maybe even hopeless. But the words you tell yourself in those moments matter more than anything else. If you've built the habit of repeating strength, resilience, focus, and gratitude, those words will become your anchor. You won't be easily shaken. Your thoughts will rise to protect your peace and fuel your purpose. This is why successful people treat self-talk as a ritual. They know it's not about ego, it's about direction. They don't wait until they feel good to speak good things. They speak good things to feel better and perform better. It's a cycle, one that becomes more powerful with each repetition. The more you speak clarity, the more focused you become. The more you speak belief, the more confident you act. The more you speak discipline, the more consistent you stay. That's how success is built, not in giant leaps, but in small, intentional choices made over and over again. The words you say to yourself are tools. If you use them with purpose, they will build you into someone who doesn't just chase goals, but achieves them. Someone who doesn't just survive challenges, but grows from them. Someone who doesn't just dream, but does. So speak the right words daily, not because it's a cute habit, but because it's the fastest way to clarity, the foundation of true confidence, and the fuel for unstoppable drive. And when those three things align, nothing can hold you back.